Y'all seem to like my Arkham Asylum Nightfall Overhaul video, so I decided to endure Batman Arkham City's Ascension Overhaul mod. This mod, just like Arkham Asylum's difficulty mod, takes the game and cranks the difficulty to the max. Enemies do more damage, and harder enemies spawn more frequently in various encounters. Most notably, the drastic increase in armored enemies in Predator sections, alongside the enemies being a hell of a lot more aware of your position and pathing, requiring you to change the way you proceed towards many encounters. The boss fights in this game have also been enhanced, necessitating a more patient approach, but I'll go over those once I get to them. There are 3 different difficulty settings for this mod: regular, insane, and chaos. We're going to be playing on chaos, which is the hardest one. If you want to play through this mod for yourself without getting steamrolled for each and every single mistake that you make, I would say play on regular. Insane cranks the difficulty, and chaos cranks the difficulty even higher. If you want to check out this mod for yourself, I'll put the link in the description. Here's Batman Arkham City's Ascension Overhaul. Quick side note, as I was installing the mod for this video, I was testing it to make sure everything was running well, and I just somehow forgot about a mod that I had installed forever ago where Batman is stuck in a wheelchair. I just thought this was funny and just thought I'd put it in the video because this shit is hilarious. We start the game off by getting political for some reason, only to be captured by Tiger, abused, told about Protocol 10 by Hugo Strange as he threatens to release our identity, and then we're thrown into Arkham City. Penguin takes us to an alley in an attempt to humiliate us, but instead gets his wrist broken and his men beat up. We scale the building, notice some weird particle effects and Bruce's flowy suit, and make our way up to Ace Chemicals to equip our bat suit. Catwoman is being held in the courthouse, so we head over to save her and ask her what Protocol 10 is really about. These enemies weren't a huge issue. Unfortunately, she doesn't know anything about Protocol 10, and she almost gets shot by Joker, so we head over to where the shot came from. The church. We throw around Harley, save some doctors who are just gonna get taken hostage by Riddler anyway, and find the gun. Joker blows up the church, which means he's definitely not getting into heaven, and then we track him down to the steel mill. Before I do enter the steel mill though, I will complete these AR challenges to get the grapnel boost. It'll just make everything a lot easier. We sneak our way into the steel mill and we come across our first group of enemies, and they really aren't a huge issue. It's just a few guys. We make our way to our first Predator encounter, and this is where we start to see how the mod makes these encounters a lot more difficult. The first thing we see is an armored thug. We can't even perform a double takedown because this guy to the left is armored. Armored thugs usually don't appear in Predator sections this early in the game, and seeing one here is just a tease at how much more difficult these Predator sections will be.
It's not the Joker. She seems pretty upset.
Stupid! How about I make you all wet?
Thankfully, this Predator section wasn't too bad, and we were able to knock it out pretty smoothly and save the doctor. We unlock the rec gun and make our way to Joker and Harley's office, where we're greeted by Mr. Hammer. Actually, 2 Mr. Hammers. And I'm pretty sure these guys can one-tap you. Thankfully, we have access to the bat swarm, so we're able to burn through one of them pretty quickly, and then we burn through the next one. Unfortunately, I suck ass at this game, and this leads to our first point to the buns counter. The next attempt, I managed to beat them though, so we make our way up to the office. We get knocked the fuck out, and now we're on to another Catwoman section. Yeah, we had a Catwoman section earlier at the start of the game, but there really wasn't much to talk about there. I guess except for the physics of these carpets, but I don't know why they're like that. We make our way over to Poison Ivy to see if she can help us into Strange's vault, but Ivy isn't too thrilled about the idea of helping us because apparently Catwoman is an asshole that doesn't water plants. So naturally, Ivy sends her mind-controlled goons after us, and we clear them out and make our way up. We make it pretty far, but Ivy's balls hit us and we die. My second attempt here was just a straight up fucking throw, so I die here as well. I managed to die 2 more times while I was running this gauntlet, but we managed to beat it. And then now we're just left hanging upside down, and we go back to Batman. I think Catwoman's gameplay is perfectly fine. I just feel like almost every single one of these sections is just forced in. It really breaks up the momentum of the story, in my opinion. But now we're back to Batman, so less complaining. So we find out that Joker infects us with super AIDS. He kicks us out of the window, and now we learn that we need to track down Mr. Freeze so we can make a cure, and then Alfred decides to rage bait us.
He'll be somewhere cold. He needs to be kept at sub-zero temperatures to survive.
I don't wish to worry you, but it is the middle of winter out there.
I noticed.
With that out of the way, now we can head towards the GCPD, as it's pretty much the coldest point in the city. However, we find a bunch of goons here instead of Mr. Freeze. As we head inside, more goons. But they're Penguin's goons. This room really does show the increased difficulty in these Predator sections, as now we have 2 armored enemies to deal with. But we sneak our way behind and we take 3 of them out.
Come on. What? It came from over here, I'm sure of it.
I make a slight mistake jumping off of this gargoyle and get one tap to fucking oblivion. I died so fast here I barely even had time to process it. We do manage to complete this section though, and we interrogate this guy and find out that Freeze is being held in the museum. As we make our way out, Alfred enlightens us with more of his infinite wisdom.
You do realize that you will actually die if you don't get this cure soon.
Thanks for reminding me, Alfred.
Batman just can't catch a fucking break. We make it to the museum, but however, Penguin has access to military-grade jammers, so we can't hack our way into the museum. So let's go deal with them. Throughout the video, you'll notice my skin changed quite a few times. It's just from different play sessions. I just wanted to try a different skin every time I played it. The first jammer on the roof we take out with no issue. The second jammer, also a piece of cake.
I read.
Horn don't count.
Screw you.
Subtle foreshadowing, but the third jammer in the subway really showed me how carefully I have to approach these Predator sections from now on.
Kill Batman. Drag this. He's dead.
Yeah, whatever I had planned there didn't work. On my second attempt, I get caught on a gargoyle, but I just accept my fate. My third attempt went really well as I managed to wipe the room without getting spotted. We take out the last jammer and now we head back into the museum. We run past a cheap jump scare and make our way to the gladiator pit where we're just thrown into the deep end off rip. We're instantly thrown in with a titan and a bunch of enemies. I get pretty far, but I roll into the titan and die. On my next attempt though, we managed to beat all these guys and the titan. Our reward is another fucking titan. Did I mention the third titan? I died quite a few times during this section because I was doing a terrible job at managing the titans and taking care of the surrounding thugs. But after 6 total deaths in the gladiator pit, we finally complete the fight and make our way deeper into the museum. Penguin freezes us as well as these cops, so we go out of our way to save them real quick. Now we head into another Predator encounter to save some more cops. I thought I was slick hiding up here, but I'm not, and then I just get fucking blasted. My strategy for dealing with the armored enemies has just been to either save them for last and or just hit them with the rec gun and then ground take down them. Now that we cleared this section, we have to go find Mr. Freeze. There he is. Now that we found him, let's just go back here and... Now that we're done with that, we go see Mr. Freeze to ask him how to disable his gun because Penguin has his hands on it. He tells us that there's a chip in his suit that'll override the gun, so let's go get the chip. Chip acquired. Now that we got the chip, we can head over to the iceberg lounge and confront Penguin. This part's just the same as any other, we just walk right up to him and we punch him. But Penguin pulls up the iceberg that we were conveniently standing on, and now we fall down. And now it's time for Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy really isn't a huge issue though, as he's just as easy as base game Grundy. I wipe through phase 1, complete phase 2, and then we kill Grundy. And then we take down the Penguin. And it really wasn't a big issue at all. That's what I would say if I was lying. If Solomon Grundy has no haters, it's because I am dead. Solomon Grundy was an absolute nightmare for me. I'm too used to Grundy being a pretty quick and pretty easy boss in the base game, but he just was not easy at all here. Phase 1 genuinely was easy. He kind of just stands there. You get through it pretty quick. You have no issues in phase 1. But shit hits the fan the second you hit phase 2. Every move either one taps you or leaves you at 1 health. A huge part of it is me not knowing how to properly dodge these attacks and getting the ultimate punishment for it. Once you complete phase 2, you get thrown straight into fucking purgatory. He spams this stupid wave attack just so goddamn much you barely even have any time to breathe. Not to mention you have to focus on blowing up these generators, which you have an even smaller window of time to take care of. Even the fucking maggots one tap you. Eventually I defeat him and take down the Penguin, but it was not easy. Here's a supercut of all my deaths.
Looked like it hurt, didn't it? Good job, that man is immortal.
I got spotted. Oh my god, this boss fight actually sucks. How do I even... sparks off. It goes up. Oh my god, this. It pulses me. That's so This fucking fight sucks. Jesus. And this fucking it died here 22 times. That alone is more than my Asylum playthrough. Now that we're done with that, we learned that we need Ra's al Ghul's blood in order to be able to come up with a cure for Batman and Joker's super aids. And there just so happens to be a League ninja who breaks out right in front of us and leaves a trail for us to follow. We follow her and then we put a tracker on her. Robin swings by and almost sabotages our mission, but he doesn't and then gives us the line launcher. Now that that's done, we can start tracking this ninja so that we can get to Ra's al Ghul. As we track, we get to the sewers and then end up right beneath Wonder Tower where there's a Predator section. Right here, I get absolutely blasted trying to backclaw this guy off the ledge. Because I'm so creative, I try the exact same thing on the next attempt and get blasted. We also decided to buy the sonic battering here, which, spoiler alert, will not be useful for us at all until one specific section later in the game. By the way, this room has 2 jammers, and one of them is an armored thug. There's also here that I learned that sonic batterings do not KO armored thugs. I genuinely do not remember if that's how it is in the base game or not. If any of y'all know, let me know. Probably not, but let's do it anyway. Fuck. Jesus. On our third try, we managed to clear the room and save this doctor. After completing the Predator section, we proceed tracking Ra's and eventually end up at the League's doorstep after a ninja politely lets us in. We lied to Talia just so that we could meet her father because he has the blood that we really need. We complete some trials, which is really just gliding and a little bit of combat. Then we meet Ra's so that we can get some of his blood. However, because we won't kill him, he juices himself with Lazarus so that we can kill him. We fight a bunch of ninjas, punch Ra's a little bit, and then he turns big, so we just electrocute him. We beat the shit out of him, then go right back to fighting more ninjas. Unfortunately, I died here a few times, but because I'm so good at this game, I get through it this time, and now we beat the shit out of Ra's. Now we have to save Talia using a gadget that I promise you have used maybe twice max and then never used ever again. We politely ask Ra's for some blood, and then we make our way out of here into a Predator section where I unfortunately died because I dropped onto the wrong level and get blasted. The second time wasn't a huge issue, I took everyone out pretty easily. As I make my way out of the subway, I come across a combat encounter where I struggled way more than I should have. I died 4 times here. And I can only really blame myself because it really was just a skill issue. This encounter is not hard at all. Now that we're out of the subway, we can head over to the GCPD so that we can talk to Mr. Freeze about making this cure. But as we're on the way, we found out that Mayor Sharp has been thrown into Arkham City, so we stop by him and interrogate him to see what he knows about Strange. We don't really get a whole lot out of him though. All we really find out is that Strange has powerful friends, and that's kind of it. As I was heading to the GCPD, I got myself killed by these gunmen on a roof, and I felt stupid passing by them again because those weren't even the people I needed to go after. I got myself killed for no reason. We take down some thugs in front of the GCPD, head inside to talk to Freeze, and he actually makes a cure, but instead of giving it to us, he attacks us and tells us to bring his wife. Quick side note, a lot of people complain and feel like this fight is just kind of thrown in here and just happens out of nowhere and has no real reason to be here. But to be honest, if the only reason I was in the city was because my wife was kidnapped and I'm trying to save her, and I'm forced to make a cure for the Joker, and while I'm making a cure for the Joker, I get kidnapped, and then I get saved only to be told to continue making the cure and nothing else, I think I'd lose my shit too and try to fight Batman. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Freeze's gimmick is that once you perform a certain takedown on him, you cannot use that same takedown again. If you perform a great takedown on him, he'll freeze the grate so you can't hide inside. If you perform a ledge takedown on him, he'll freeze the railings, making them slippery, so you can't really use them to your advantage. You get the idea. You need to evolve your strategy if you want to beat him. If I remember correctly, it only takes 3 takedowns to defeat him on easy, 5 takedowns to complete him on normal, and 8 takedowns on hard, and 9 takedowns on New Game Plus. With this mod, you need to use 10 different takedowns on Mr. Freeze. Keep in mind there are only 12 unique ways that you can take him down, meaning you're gonna have to use almost all of them to complete this fight. Another thing about this fight in this mod is that you have a very short amount of time to go beat up Mr. Freeze after using a takedown on him. If you take too long, the suit will recharge and you won't get the damage for the takedown. Oh, that's bullshit. That's my fault. The beatdown animation also is a little bit longer, so you do really have to be close in order to get that takedown in. Another important note is that if the takedown fails, he will not freeze whatever gadget you used to hit him in the first place, so you could try it again. He also pretty much just one-taps you throughout this entire fight, so you really do have to be extraordinarily careful. Here's what I did to beat him. Actually, right before I get there, let me note, I died 4 times in this section. Let's just get that out of the way. I start off by sneaking behind him to perform a silent takedown, then immediately I run past the electromagnet to get Freeze to path in front of it. I make sure he sees me to aggro him just to ensure he walks towards it, then I hit the electromagnet, completing another takedown. I then run to the explosive wall to prime it with explosive gel. He doesn't walk right past it like I planned, so I bait him into the puddle and shock him, getting me another takedown. He then walks past the weak wall where I then blow it up right on him, granting me another takedown. I wandered around for quite a bit trying to figure out what to do next, but eventually I got him to walk right past this window, allowing me to perform another takedown on him. I then sneak into the grate just out of his sight, then perform a great takedown on him. I then forced him upstairs towards the railing, letting me perform a ledge takedown. After dilly-dallying for quite a bit, I remember the disruptor exists, so I used that for yet another takedown. I honestly didn't know I could use a drop attack on Mr. Freeze, so I did that here and got another takedown. I was using all of my brain power at this point to figure out what else I could possibly do to finish this fight until I remembered these glass ceilings. I just did my best to get Freeze to path underneath them, but it just I wasn't getting it quite right to perform a glass ceiling takedown. So what I did instead was I just put explosive gel there to see if it did anything while he was underneath. And I wasn't exactly super confident that it would do anything, but to my surprise it did. And that was the last takedown that we needed to finish the fight. I might be crazy here, but I feel like in the base game, Mr. Freeze tracked your footsteps a hell of a lot more. With this mod, it felt like he would track your footsteps for a little bit, give up, and then just shoot his drones. He wouldn't track your footsteps for very long at all, but in base game, 80% of the time he was tracking your footsteps. We find out that Harley Quinn took the cure, so we need to go get it back. But before we leave, Mr. Freeze hands us the freeze grenades, which is gonna make the rest of our run so much easier. We save Vicky Vale from some snipers or something, I don't know, it's not that important. Then I decide to take a detour and do Mad Hatter's side mission because why not? Not much to say here other than that it felt like it took much longer than usual, and I died twice here even though there weren't any real enemies that were challenging. Oh my god. Oh, I love this part. I didn't bother finding the 2 specific deaths from this fight, but I know I died twice here and I have it listed, and it's not that important. Let's just move on. As I'm making my way back to the steel mill, I completely forgot that there were snipers on the map at this point, and I get folded. We make it to the steel mill, take out these thugs on the outside, and make our way in. I choked in this combat encounter because I decided to use my bat claws and another guy was running after me, leading to another death. We make it to another predator encounter where there are 2 armored guys before, so we bat claw these 3 people. I feel like it's both a
Man, don't waste your time on these little girls.
We disrupt this guy, freeze another, fuck up the easiest inverted takedown ever, but manage to clutch it up and inverted takedown the other armored enemy. This poor guy is still frozen, so we take him out. Now we make our way to Joker's funhouse. Joker's funhouse is considered one of the hardest combat encounters in the base game, and this modded version definitely does its best to keep that crown. My favorite part is that all of the thugs are replaced with Joker, so everyone here is the Joker. There are now 2 Mr. Hammers, as opposed to just 1 Mr. Hammer in the base game. And now there are not 1, not 2, but 3 Titans in this section. Not to mention, pretty much all of the Jokers have knives, meaning that there are fewer counters in this section as you'll be blade dodging most of the time. I died quite a few times here, but I was able to get a rhythm going and find an effective way of clearing out the room. The second the first Titan spawned in, I hopped on and used it to take Mr. Hammer down to 1 health. Then did the same to the other Mr. Hammer. Bugging out. Then clearing out the rest of the room wasn't too bad, just extra caution when dealing with the knife-wielding Jokers. And this section is over, but the building collapses on us and now we cut to another forced Catwoman section. We convince Poison Ivy to help us get into the vault, and then we get into the vault. We grab the loot and leave, but we decide to leave it behind so we can save Batman. That's kind of it. Not much else to talk about with this section. Looking back at the footage, I noticed that I was able to complete this section without taking any damage. But to be fair, this section only takes like 10 minutes if you know what you're doing, so maybe it's not that impressive. After getting saved by Catwoman, Protocol 10 activates and we have to shut it down. We chased down the helicopter with the master control codes, but I died to a helicopter because I didn't think it was still on to me. Eventually we find the right helicopter with the master codes and make our way over to Wonder Tower. We get through the processing center pretty easily and then we find ourselves back to the base of Wonder Tower for another Predator section. I died quite a lot here. This room has 4 armored tiger guards and a bunch of mines. It doesn't help that this room is a lot more claustrophobic with not very many places to hide. It feels like this section was a Predator at its peak. The tiniest error meant death. I did, however, discover one important strategy. Oh my god, I'm so goated. Okay, new cheese discovered. This trick didn't really help me in this Predator section, but it will be useful very soon. After 40 minutes of trial and error and an ungodly amount of patience, we eventually managed to complete this section. 40 minutes. Admittedly, this was just a huge skill issue, I'll own up to that. But now we can make our way up the tower. On our way up the tower, we get ambushed by 6 armored tiger guards.
Yes, sir.
They're all armored?
Kill anyone in the elevator.
What if it's one of us?
It's not. Control says that it's Batman.
We scale the tower even higher towards the final Predator section of the game where I get even more concerned because how many of them are armored? I swear to God. Fucking all of them. Thankfully, the cheese is funky with this one. Remember that freeze grenade and battering combo I showed you from the last Predator section? Of course you don't. But that's okay. I sneak my way into the deck and grapple to the very top of this room. Were this top part inaccessible, this encounter would be infinitely harder. I use a sonic batarang to lure someone to the top of this ladder, freeze a guy at the top, and launch his ass off with the remote control batarang. I then do this with the rest of the enemies for the cheesiest Predator section I have ever done throughout the series. And then we just knock him.
I know you are.
We kick Strange, turns out Raish is the mastermind behind fucking everything, jump out of an exploding building, see Raish die, and Barbara also plays Captain Obvious this time instead of Alfred.
Bruce, are you okay? The tower just exploded.
I noticed.
Why is Batman's crew rage painting the fuck out of him in one of the worst, longest, stressful nights of his life? What the hell is wrong with these people? We make our way over to the Monarch Theater to save Talia, but we have to take down these snipers outside. Thankfully, they're not a big deal and I honestly didn't know he was looking at me. Now we get inside the theater, the real Joker shoots Talia, it turns out to be Clayface, and now we have to fight him. Now Clayface gave me some issues. I was never really good at dodging his attacks, so my main strategy, and probably everyone's strategy, let's be real, is just to spam freeze grenades and take the damage because he doesn't do a lot of damage in the base game anyway. That doesn't really work here because Clayface has so much health here that you can't fully rely on the freeze grenades alone unless you want to spend a century fighting him. So baiting him into the explosives is pretty much a necessity. That's not to say that baiting him into the bombs in the base game is a useless strategy, but you could just get away with it. I died quite a few times, but I'll just go over the fight in general and then I'll just show a compilation of my deaths afterwards. Once I managed to learn to dodge his attacks, which is really easy to do, I just was never good at it and never bothered because I never did a whole lot of damage in the base game anyway. But I managed to get over it, and then we move on to phase 3, and phase 3 is really just a skill issue. All you really have to do is just attack these minions and eventually Clayface will pop up and you throw a freeze grenade in his mouth and then he'll come back up again later after you defeat more enemies, and that's kind of it. You just rinse and repeat. But I still found a way to die here quite a few times. Purely skill issue. No other excuse. But eventually I managed to complete it and we complete the game. But before we get to that, here's a death compilation. The Joker dies, Batman ore farms his way into a fade, and that's Arkham City. I had a lot of fun with this mod. It makes you think further outside the box than you're more comfortable with. Instead of just increasing damage, it restructures many of the encounters from the ground up, not only to make them harder, but just to give you something that you've never faced before. I still fucking hate the Solomon Grundy fight, but that might just be me being impatient, probably just a huge skill issue. The Predator sections were also just a huge skill issue and forced me to make wiser decisions in those encounters. We managed to complete the game with 92 deaths, a handful more than my Asylum playthrough. If you haven't checked that out, I would appreciate it if you did. If this video gets 10 likes, I will do Arkham Origins Vengeance Overhaul mod next. Again, if you want to try out GP Unity's Ascension mod for yourself, the link will be in the description. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.
I told you!